tunneling is interesting because I know, like in indoor facilities, a lot of times we talk about working in a vacuum with an individual pitch and getting a pitch to perform a certain way. Well, really the idea of pitching is being able to put some pitches together. So the concept of tunneling those pitches off of each other, think about like a high fastball and then all of a sudden that big overhand curveball that drops to the bottom of the zone that looks like a fastball. Some things that I like to talk to about, especially with younger guys that are kind of getting introduced to the idea of pitch tunneling is we want to make everything look the same out of hand. The idea is to make the hitter have to make as many decisions as he can, as we can force them to, before they decide to swing, right? So is the ball going to carry above the barrel or is it going to drop below the barrel? I think the more consistently we can do those things and that we can make our pitches look the same as close to the plate as we can, it makes it tougher on the hitter. And in some cases, like with guys that maybe stuff doesn't metrically play well, if you're good at tunneling, you get away with a little bit more, I feel like, missing some barrels, or at least maybe a swing and miss, but maybe also just weak contact. Think about sinker slider guy, bottom of the zone, maybe running this way or cutting that way type stuff. Just really it's about making everything look the same and not giving anything to tip the hitter as to what might pitch be coming based off of how it pops up out of your hand or how it's carrying to the plate. I think one of my favorite parts of the game with all the technology, information, data that we have, I still, one of my favorite parts of the game itself is that cat and mouse game where I can sit in the dugout and watch another team's guy throw. Everybody has a tell, and typically what I'm meaning by that is everybody tips a pitch a certain way if you know what to look for, and that's something that, like I said, big part of what I enjoy doing is trying to figure that out. Some common things that we see, it can really be anything from how a guy approaches the rubber after he gets the sign, or if he has an idea of what pitch he's going to throw next. Maybe he engages the rubber a little bit more aggressively. If I'm going to throw a fastball here, or if I've got to finesse an off-speed pitch, it can be something as simple as once they come set from the stretch position, are their hands on their chest, are their hands at their high or lower. It can be something as simple as given the grip. I see this a lot with younger guys that aren't aware of it, but like they'll grip their pitch outside their glove before they bring it in. I have seen at higher levels guys that actually will curl their wrist on certain pitches, or will approach their glove from a higher angle if they really feel like I'm going to rip a curveball here, or I'm going to be nice and relaxed and throw a good fastball here. How they bring the ball into the glove can change. Things like how long they hold. Like if a guy is, uncertain maybe about a breaking ball, or he's struggling throwing a breaking ball, maybe he takes a little bit longer once he comes set to, okay, I got to throw this good breaking ball, and his fastball that day is just kind of come set, one count and throw. Things like that. You'll see guys, maybe check a runner more frequently. Maybe they're like one look a lot or one and two look a lot. Maybe they really change their hold pattern and either long hold or check the runner multiple times because they know an off-speed pitch is coming. It's going to be a good pitch to run on. So we're looking for things like that. It's really interesting. One of the most classic ones of I was going to act like we have a glove on here, but from the wind-up of guys like digging for a pitch. We had a scenario one time when I was still playing where there was a big arm going against us. It had been very successful, punched a lot of guys out with a high fastball that year, and we were able to identify from the dugout early on that he was a finger out of the glove guy, and he had the leather covering his finger like they have a lot now, but he wiggled his finger on a fastball enough that you could see that little piece of leather moving. So hitters were able to see if a fastball was coming, and we were able to work out a system where we had an idea if an off-speed pitch was coming, the hitter was going to take if it wasn't two strikes, and we would take a base because the guy was pretty slow to the plate. So it allowed us to put some pressure on and get some traffic going against a really good arm that was a good challenge for our hitters. But we were able to gain information just by paying attention to what was going on. And took advantage of it, got him out of the game, got in their bullpen, and eventually not only won that game, but it led to a series victory that led us into the postseason. So pretty impactful if you're just aware of what you're doing. So as a pitcher, I always like to talk about things that you can do away from the field that are going to make you better on the field. And I think this is something that, like, I think about having that big storm door at your house where you see your reflection, or maybe a full-size mirror at your house. Practice on, put your glove on, have a ball in your hand. Practice on bringing your pitches in your glove from the set position, or practice, from the windup, making sure that everything looks the same. And I'm not talking about actual arm path in this instance. I'm talking about just how you bring together and then make your first move towards the plate. Again, it goes back to, we don't want to tip anything early. We want all of our pitches to look the same as long as they can as the ball's on the way to the plate, right? So the hitter has to make more decisions and has less time to react once he decides it's swing time or not. Another thing I think to be aware of from the stretch is I'll see a lot of guys that come with their hands together, and either a runner at second could see and relay in a signal of just being able to see that grip, or you can also sometimes base coaches or even a runner on first, if it's a right-hander, a guy will bring his hands together like this, and you can see into the glove, and it's all legal stuff. It's stuff that we talk about combating against as a pitcher, but when I'm in the dugout as an opposing coach, it's definitely something that we're trying to be aware of and trying to gather any intel we can to see, because hey, hitting's hard, right? We want to make sure that we can give any advantage to our hitters that we can in a legal way, of course. Sure, I think that, I don't know if there's any one statistic, but I know a few of the things that I like to chart with guys are, first pitch strikes, of course, are a big one. That sways the odds in our favor for success in that AB. I think winning 2 out of 3 is probably more important, because if you're really emphasizing first pitch strike and you don't throw that first pitch strike, it's not the world's over, right? So like to do 2 out of 3s as well. And also big even count guy, especially that 1-1 is such a big swing count. A 1 and 2 count is very different from a 2 and 1 count in terms of, the odds are swaying pretty heavily from a 1-1 to a 2-1 or a 1-2. So I think that's important to track that 1-1 even count. And then I think once you get 2 strikes, how many guys are you punching out after you get 2 strikes? I think getting the lead hitter out each inning, first guy out, is also a very big one. Those are simple little things that you can kind of keep track of, and success leaves clues. And I definitely think when you go to something as simple as, winning your 2 out of 3s, winning even counts, and then getting the first guy out each inning, I think those are probably the most simple ways to start gauging some success for a player in game. I know a lot of people out there have asked me, what's the separator, or what's the difference between like a pitching lesson and what we do here at Premier. And I think the biggest way to explain that is pretty simple. Like, I always feel like a pitching lesson, and I've done a lot over the years, and I think it's, sometimes people come in with that quick fix, like, hey, I didn't pitch good this weekend. Can I come in twice this week and throw with you? And I do think there's a time and place for that. But I think if you're looking at long term, like big picture, I think the things that we're able to do by creating a throwing schedule and lifting schedule that's more all encompassing is really putting the player at an advantage. And the reason for that is, as you get older and get more involved in the game, you'll understand that it's a flow of through the course of a year how things work. Because ultimately we want to be the best we can be in game, and that doesn't come from one pitching lesson a week. It comes from recovery throwing, hybrid days, short spin catches. It comes from a ton of work in the weight room. It comes from mobility and correctives. It's not just a quick 30-minute lesson, because ultimately, and again, I want to preface it again with the fact that I've done a lot of private lessons, and there are, advantages to doing things like that. But I think the idea of creating a calendar, whether it be a 6-month or a 12-month calendar, it's really, the older I get, the more I realize how important it is what you do between mound sessions that sets you up for success, than just being able to hop up there and immediately have some success, right? So really we're talking about building a better player, a better athlete, which in turn is going to lead to better performance on the mound And I think that's ultimately all what we're looking for.